Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me here and thanks for checking out my podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell for new episodes. You can also find Shine Without Shame on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Today, my guest is Jean-Luc Kayigire. Jean-Luc is an entrepreneur and Los Altos, California enthusiast. He appreciates classic cars and video games.
Okay.
Thanks for being here, Jean-Luc.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. I know that we are still getting to know each other. We have some mutual friends, and
Yeah.
you're a part of the business community where their business is located. And so I'm happy to get to know you a little bit more and learn about your journey. And yeah, could you start by just sharing where you grew up and what your environment was like and what led you to be this successful entrepreneur?
Yeah, I can start. So I was born in a small country called it's in the middle of Africa called Burundi. Burundi is right next to Rwanda, so I consider both the same kind of. But I was born in Burundi. Difficult time, but really really nice time for me. But it was I grew up in an environment where it was just my grandma, my mom would live with my cousins. Everybody live in one house, kind of, right? And everybody would be just friendly to each other. But I was a kid, so I didn't have to work for it. I didn't have to do anything else. I had anything I wanted. I had the food, I had everything else. But I was a middle class back then over there, right? So I didn't have. I mean, I had shoes, but no all the time shoes, right? It was a good time. And then because of genocide. 1994, my mom came to pick us up, me and my brother, and then we moved to France as immigrant in France to get out of the civic war. And then from there, one grew up in France, lived there for about 10 years, and then decided to try my American dream. Decided to go to Berkeley, and then so that's why I ended up in Berkeley. And in Berkeley, went to school, and then start working on some restaurant, and I really loved it. And I was like, "Oh, I can do this." And then so I start my own restaurant, and then years later, I'm in high tech also, and then years later, I'm in Los Altos. Yes, so that's a little bit my quick background coming from Africa all the way to California, Los Altos. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because when you walk around the world and if you don't get to know people, you have no idea. You just assume, okay, that's another person. Yeah, they grew up with the family. They probably had a similar life to me and that they had to go to school and had to just kind of deal with the basics of life. But then when you hear someone share the details of their story, it's like, oh, wow, no, that's so different. It's so different than, another person. And
It is 100%. I mean, it's like it's you never see you when you're in the street, especially Los Altos. You know Los Altos more than anybody else. You're walking around it, right? And then Los Altos is very diverse, right? It's like a lot of people from a different country because it's high tech town, right? It's kind of right. So you never know most of those people where they came from, right? You don't know what is the background, how they got there, and then how did they survive to get there. And it's such a for me, I'm always intrigued by the human being, right? So it's like, so what is your story? What how'd you get here, right? It's like from here, you can see, from here, but how did you get here, right? So it's very interesting that part. Yeah.
it is. And I think for when people are probably asked about their stories, I imagine some people think, oh, it's nothing interesting. But every story really is interesting
I
because
don't,
they're
yeah,
they're all unique.
it doesn't matter where you're from. Your story is unique. That's what make you, right? So whatever it is, it's unique. So that's the beauty part of it too. So yeah.
That's true. And when you were growing up, you said that there was strife. Was there a civil war that was
Yeah, so
happening?
I was born in Burundi, right? So actually, my mom, all my family was born in Rwanda, right? Except me and my brother, right? And it was a genocide in 1972, I believe, between two clans, Hutu and Tutsi. And then my grandma and my grandpa immigrated to Burundi. So that's the closest country right there, right? Similar culture, similar history, similar everything, right? So they moved there, and then my mom was born. I was born there, and every single thing else. But we never had paperwork as Burundese. They never give us the paperwork, right? So basically, they just told us, "You're just an immigrant." So you had an immigrant paper. You could stay there, you could live there, you could do anything you want, but you're basically nobody, right? So my first, let's say, first sister born because I left was like 9 years old or 10 years old, and then I just grew up in this community where my mom, who was living in France, left just to go to provide for better story, and then there's a deeper story behind my mom's story how she got there, but she found a way to France and provide, get money to be able to buy a house, and then so basically, the first half of my life, when I was like maybe after like I was 5, right, until I was 10, right, before until I left, I grew up with my grandma. So my mom was gone, right. The reason why it was a political reason behind it, and then also it was providing for this family. So we get clothes and food, and she was trying to get a better way out, right. And then so she was in France, and then so I grew up there, and growing up there, so my grandma, that's means she had to take care of cousins. Some of the cousins didn't have money, so because my mom built a house, so we grew up with like in the house of always had people in the house, right? We always had cousin living there for years, so and then, so it was really cool just to I think personally that's why I'm a social human being, right? I love people because the fact is like this I grew up like. It was my grandma, my uncle, everybody else. We had any given time 20 people in the house, right? 15 to 20 people living there in a 3 bedroom house, right? Like 2 bedroom house, right? It's 2 bedroom, a 2 bedroom house, and then so you get to talk to those people. Eh? And the genocide happened, and when the genocide happened, my mom knew it was going to happen, something bad was happening, so she was saving a lot of money, and she came to get us uh, from Burundi, like in the middle of the genocide when it started. So she grabbed us, and then next thing I know, remember growing up with no shoes in Africa, and then playing in the dirt with my friends, and then to a plane, right? So it's a very shocking at 10 years old and crossing the planet just to go to a different culture or different lifestyle, right? So that's basically what happened. All that because of genocide.
Right.
Yeah.
It's thank you for
Yeah.
sharing more details
Oh, no, no
and
problem.
and also painting the picture of the environment you grew up in terms of your home because I haven't known you for too long, but I've always when I've interacted with you, I've always been aware there's this sort of like uplifting, you always seem to be like you said, you're very social, but there's also you always seem to be kind of willing to share joy in life and kind of connect with people in a way that that is about being joyful and making connection. And now it makes sense. Now I understand a little
Yeah,
bit
you have
more.
to. Life is too short if you're just sad. Life, you're just wasting time being sad. It doesn't matter if you have a bad day. I have bad day all the time, but you have to find a way not to have a bad day, right? To have a bad moment. If you have a bad moment, it's okay, right? And then, but don't ruin that whole day because of one bad moment, right? Always find a way to do that, and that's because I do believe it's because of my background. Just make the best of it, right? And then be social, and then just make sure nobody. I mean, it's a lot of people are sad for nothing, right? Like
Mm.
people just sad. Oh, I just this happened at work. So now I'm sad all day. So now my life is ruined, right? Because for that day, right? I think they don't have they have that's a luxury life to have to be sad. I don't think it's me somebody like me can afford it. I need to be happy. Being sad is just yeah. I need to be happy all the time, and then whatever it takes, I just have to find a way to be happy. And I do have bad day, bad moment, and every single thing else, but I'll always find a way. So if I can just go up there and make somebody smile or talk to somebody and then tell him like, hey, you're good. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow is the next day. Close your eyes, you'll be tomorrow, right? And then that makes me feel okay. So that's the reason why I'm always smiley and I try to be positive to anybody as possible. Yeah.
think it means a lot more than you may even know to people. I think you do know what you're offering people, but yeah, it's so needed. And especially, Los Altos, for those people who don't know, is quite an affluent town. And so it's so interesting to think about people who actually have a lot of means materially, and who, there are troubles. We all have troubles and challenges that
We do.
do, make us maybe have to reflect, or can be sometimes feeling burdensome, but it's still, there's something about having that attitude, that optimism, or that positivity regardless of your material circumstances, that I think that's so critical to, like you said, finding happiness. Life is too short.
Yeah.
And how you're very successful, I know, as an entrepreneur. You've got multiple businesses. And why do you think you kind of gravitated toward being an entrepreneur, and not just, having one business, but creating, multiple? And I'm sure, yes, financially, I'm sure that that's useful, but it seems like there's something more related to you, or to your experience in life, or to your background, that kind of has lend you the ability to be able to be in a lot of places at once. I know you're a very busy person.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, so first of all, being a successful, it's a very vague word, right? I don't think I'm successful. I have
Mm,
to clarify that. I am happy. Yes, that's the best way to describe. But any of my businesses, it's always some of them are doing well, some of them are doing bad, right? So for me to consider myself as very successful is basically meaning every single thing I touch, it's gold, right? I don't think I'm there yet. I always have to fight the way to figure out. So I open like you see the new place, Le Bon, we opened in Los Altos, right? I'm not going for the money. I don't want money. I just want the community to have a local bar, and that's the reason why we built it there, right? Is that successful? No, but it's successful for me because that's exactly what I wanted to be having in town, so I can just go play pool, play my things, right? So for me, money wise doesn't represent. Yeah, basically, what I'm trying to say, financially wise, is no successful, but idea wise is very successful. That's so saying like I'm very successful is depending what term, right? Happiness, I'm successful, but money wise, we're not there yet. Yeah, and the single reason why I became an entrepreneur is because coming here in the U.S. and then going through all different culture, right? I realized quickly it's going to be difficult for me to get a decent job, right? So to be I'm no A student. I won't lie. I was like I'm the smartest guys. I'm not. I'm I hustle a lot just to get where I'm at. But I realize it because what like we spoke last time is like my ultimate goal still after all this years since school is to be a filmmaker, right? To do film or any part of that part, right? And then my goal when I started doing those projects, doing films, doing getting money for the films, raising money, I realized very quickly I get it shut down because I'm not trying to be putting racism on that part. Is my color skin was no right. It was no right place, right? So it was no easy for me to get fundraising, and then coming from a different community was difficult. So I realized it's up. I have to take everything on my own hands. So that's why I started my first restaurant. And thinking, okay, my restaurant if it becomes successful, I'll have enough money to start doing film. And then of course it didn't happen because you get stuck in just try to make it successful. And next thing you know, years and years later, you're still doing some of the different, but you still didn't do the goals. So like I told you, my goals this year is to find a way back in, right? Find a way in the entertainment business and just figure out how to make it. So yeah, reason why I'm an entrepreneur is just because I was no smart. I mean, I'm an average student. Number one, right? And number two, it was difficult for me to get any job, so I had to do my thing by myself, right? Just take over and just do that part. Yes, I'm not sure if that answered the question.
Oh, it perfectly answers the question. It's you articulated it so powerfully, and I appreciate you clarifying what your idea of success is in your life. And
Mhm.
I I love that because Jean-Luc, so many people walk around and I think they want people to believe that they are successful,
Yeah.
but they're not authentic about it always.
Yep.
And I think what you're sharing is so authentic. You're talking about, look, I have the drive, I have the motivation to do what I need to do to take care of myself, to get the basics taken care of, but I also want to enjoy life and be a part of kind of building that in communities, and that's so valuable. And regardless of not being an A student, that's making something that is real in the world that other
Yeah.
people other people benefit from, in community life and socially. That takes a lot more than just straight A's,
Yep.
to
Yep.
accomplish
Yep.
that. So I just want to acknowledge and tell you that I
Yeah.
respect your
So
approach.
it's a lot of people show. I mean, I have to be clear when people ask me, "Are you a successful person?" I'm like, I am personally, but which successful? Because 90% of the people success mean financially success, meaning having money, right? By definition of success is not a thing to do with finance, right? I mean, yeah, we're not even close to that. Success is being you around the right people, and then you enjoy what you're doing, and then you having fun with the family, and then you don't have to worry about anything else, right? So in that family part, right? And for me, that's success. But for some people, success mean expensive cars, big house, and then yeah, for me, that's a different description. So it's like, yeah, I'm successful in my own way. Financially, I'm not, but I'm successful in one way. So that's what I always usually try to show people, right? Just be clarify on that part, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's authentic. That's a sincere
Yep.
way to express yourself, and people benefit because they get to learn. I think when you want to have people believing that you're just successful in all ways, whether you are or not, it makes it harder for people to maybe approach people
Yep.
who just kind of walk around with that air of like, I've got it all. It's
Yep.
everything is amazing. There's an opportunity I think that's missed sometimes where, yeah, people may not feel comfortable, or it may not be welcomed that, that people want to turn to people who are successful and learn from them and have them share their wisdom and their experience. So, yeah, you're doing a service to people.
Yeah. Trying to. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that, like, what you're talking about, that part the part of what makes you happy is really build it sounds like building community. You're so good at that, and it makes sense from your background. That was
That's the reason why I love
naturally.
Los Altos, right? That I feel like Los Altos is so small enough to you're building a community, and then and it's a lot of people on the same page as me in Los Altos. There's a lot of restaurant involving on this community things, right? Let's go through. We went through pandemic, right? And then work so hard to get to that point, right? And then but everybody's together, everybody help each other, there's no competition between each other, right? And things like that. That's a community. So for me, I'm successful in that part, right? I'm successful just putting everybody together. And then some of the people are successful doing the same thing as me, right? Everybody contributing. I'm happy. That's if I say I'm successful on that project and just putting everybody together, yes, I'm successful in that part, right? So for me, that's success represent, right? Just putting everybody together, doing a community base, something make me happy and stuff like that, right? But yeah, so for me that's success, right? Being part of the community, small town, this is where we grew up. This is where our kid goes. This is all the parents, my kids come from, right? So it's a very small community. So yeah, on that part, yeah, that's for me that description of success.
That's beautiful. And also, as you know, the podcast is about promoting the idea of of shining and be okay with shining and not feeling badly, which is different than being egotistical about your life or your accomplishments. And do you think that for you, it sounds like it's so easy for you to just be comfortable with, your happiness and all of all of the accomplishments and the journey you've taken to get where you are. Do you think that for people, maybe not in your tight knit circle, but when you do kind of witness other people or talk to other people, do you think that people feel badly for shining? Do you think people have a hard time kind of
Most
just
of the pe-
letting?
most of the people I know who's successful, right? They don't feel bad about it. They work hard for it, right? So why do you need to feel bad about it, right? It's usually the opposite. The people around you get upset about you being successful, right? Or you better me or competition based and stuff like that. So for me, that's two different things, right? I don't think if you're successful in something you like, it could be family or money wise, whatever you want, and then you're proud of it, and that's it. You should be proud of it, right? So and then you should not feel bad about anybody else because you earn it, you work hard for it, and then you got it, right? So I don't think around me anybody is shamed for it. We have to be conservative, right? So
Mm.
uh, it's it's a lot of things, right? Example. So I had my childhood friend came in for Christmas for the first time. These people I grew up since I was 10 years old in France. When I moved to France, it's the best. Some people we live in the project together, right? We live in this community and stuff like that. We play basketball. I made up playing basketball. Some of them didn't make it. Some of them became mechanic, and they all work in the same mechanic shop. That's how you can see us growing up playing basketball together. I move out. I move to a different area. They stay where their own community is, right, and build the coolest garage in town, right. This is everybody in the town knows and everybody else, right. And then, but at the end, I'm still in love with cars because I built classic cars myself. I have friends come to help me. That's my Sunday, and I just wear, I do everything I can do. That's my habit, right. And they're still doing the same thing, right. So it's like we still attached to some strain in the mechanic and cars because when we were kids, we used to talk about cars all the time, right? So we still love the same passion, right? But those people came to visit, right? With the family. It was like a total of 10 people came to in. So I get them a house and every single thing else. Me talking to my wife, right? It's I know the situation and where they live in France. They're still in the same community. They don't have money. They don't have a house like I have. They don't have the community like I have. And things like that. It's like my community is a lot of VIPs, a lot of cool people. Like it's people they hear about it when they're home, right? So it's like, oh wow, you know this guy. So when they came in, it was I had to. This is the only time in my life I had to try to hide my success, right? No hide it, but more like don't show it. The point I'm trying to say is like so everything had to be done play, right? So I had to make sure because I didn't want the kids to come here, right? And see my kid the way to live and go back home and battle the parents is like, how come we not like him, right? And this is very difficult for me. And then I love those kids, right? And things like that. So we had to downplay as much as possible. My wife and I, she's like, let's just don't do anything fancy. Let's just no, yeah. So we try our best just to show them less than we had, right? For me, it was more to protect them. But at the end, I felt so bad. I was like, you know what? I need to talk to you guys. I've been doing this because this way, because I share most of the things, right? And they say, you are who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. And then we was here to support you, right? But we understand why you're doing it. It's for our kids. And then we're okay with that. So I did communicate with them at the end. It's like, yeah, what you see here, it's sorry we can do the much of the things I do because I was scared for your kids. I was scared for you view of me and stuff like that, right? But after that, they were like, no, dude, it's like we're just happy for you, right? So just do your thing and stuff like that. So I now realized I didn't have to try to hide that. So to answer the question, it's if you're successful, you should not be able to be ashamed of what you got there, right? You have to embrace everything you have. It doesn't matter if you like expensive things, just go ahead. It's your money. It's where you work hard. Just and then yes, Don't be a crazy man. Don't try to do stuff like that. But yes, just go for it, right? But most of the good successful people I know, right, they're successful, but they're very respectful, right? Meaning, you won't see them driving a Lamborghini, right? Most of the successful, I drive a Prius, right? And I used to have a Tesla. I just sold it. I want to just drive my Prius. I drive Prius. I drive classic cars, right? Old beat up car. Some of them I know drive simple cars. They don't need to show up for Lamborghini. They don't need to show up Mercedes. They just get a car can take them A to B because material and showing off is not what it is, right? So yeah, so most of my environment people successful, they're very extremely successful, right? But you never think when you see the street they're very successful, right? So it's two different type of success. Young kids right now, the only thing they want is Lamborghini and stuff like that. Old generation, they just want happiness, health, and then they just enjoy every single little moment, right? Cars is no part of the stuff, right? So just to describe, in my community, I do have a successful, but everybody's just proud of what they accomplish. They will not lie to you about that, but they won't show you how successful they are. They're very conservative, making sure they're polite. They don't drive loud car in the neighborhood because they can do it, right? They don't go in the restaurant and ask the first table because I own this, I'll buy this place, right? They don't do things like that. It's more like I wait. If the table is not ready, give me an hour. And I know you'll be shocked. To Amandine is very successful, the lounge, right? You'll be shocked to see this crazy name people coming into Amandine, right? And my team will be like, oh, we'll sit you right away. It goes like, no, I'll wait, like everybody else, right? So for me, when you see those people, and that's the people you want to be friend with, right? There's people who's like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
They want to be normal and then they just want to be things. I think that's success, right? That's having a lot of money can get a lot of money, but you can fail right away. But have that mentality and then just keep doing that way and just be polite, respectful. That's the true success. And then they don't hide about it. They're out there. I'm not sure if I answered that question, but I just went overboard. But
I'm so
that was
glad.
yeah. So I'm just trying to experience because yeah, it's just don't show up, don't show off, don't do anything stupid like that, right?
I'm so glad that you were passionate about this answer. In the story you shared with your friends, your childhood friends and their family visiting you for the holidays. Wow, that really touched me. That on your side with you and your wife, that's just there was so much compassion and so much thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you shared about communicating to your friends, your visitors, at the end of their stay, well, actually, we were keeping it on the down low a little bit, and they were happy for you. That to me speaks to when you really value someone and you see who they are. It's not just the surface. You're not just looking at, oh wow, the material and whatever the outward
Mm-hmm.
facing lifestyle they have. That means you know someone well when you're able to say, oh, don't worry about that. Don't hide yourself. Don't hide your accomplishments, your success. Share that. We want to share that with you. That that's about that's about truly knowing someone, appreciating someone, and I think that's just so powerful. What a wonderful, illustration of how we can all be happy and be proud of what we accomplish
Yep.
and be respectful that not everybody has the same lifestyle and has the same
Yep.
journey, but when
Exactly.
there's sincerity, right? And when there's authenticity, you can create those are meaningful bonds that last forever. Obviously, these friends you've known since childhood, you're gonna know them the rest of your life, and there's depth.
Yeah.
That to me is inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not about inspiring, but it is the truth, right? So like, for me, I had to go through that process. It's like, they have kids, they live this way, they do things like that. They're coming to visit. How they going to see my life? I mean, I live in Los Altos. This is no. It's a very fancy town, right? In one way, right? There's no everybody can afford living here, right? Yeah, it's a cool town, right? But so the point, it's like they're coming here, see my lifestyle, see what I do, how I my daily life is, how my family live, right? We do live normally here, right? We I'm not saying we're fancy family. We have the same kid and every single thing else, but the level around here in Los Altos, it's way higher than anybody else in any country, right? Any places, right? So that was for me, it was a very challenge, and that was a long process. But at the end, I was like, I have to tell them. I mean, it's really important to me as a friend to be honest, right? And then I was like, yeah, but that was not what we. That's basically a little bit less than what we usually do, right? So because we try to manage that, and they understand
Mm.
100%, right? So that's the cool part of things about it, right?
Absolutely, Jean-Luc.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it can be inspiring to other people because it is like you said, oh, that's not inspiring. It's just the truth. The truth can be inspiring because we all connect to truth. I just think that it, I think we're living in an era where it's just there's so much desire and the goal for so many people is really about that, like making the money. And we all need money. There's no shame in wanting money or needing money. We all need money to live here. It's the world requires material, material means. But I think that if that's all you're focused on every day, day in and a day out, is how can I get more money?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And for some people they have so much, it's like it's still not enough.
Yeah, it's
And
never
it's like, well,
enough.
now wait a minute. Now, are you enjoying your life? Are you making those strong bonds, and do you have those friendships and those relationships in your life that are based on truth, that are based on honesty?
Mhm.
That is what I think mo I imagine many people want that. They just may not always have it and may not always know how to develop that kind
Okay.
of life for themselves based
Yeah,
on, like you said, trust. Like I was saying, trust, truth, honesty. And so that's why your sharing is inspiring because it's
yeah,
so simple,
yep,
but it seems to be so important.
yep, yeah.